everyone to another extraordinary evening on the Cynthia Manion Show. Tonight, we're honored to have a visionary, entrepreneur, humanitarian, and talent development powerhouse with us. Michael Fomkin. Michael is the founder of VIP Ignite Live, Truth Management, Vision Craft, and Legend Circle. I just had the honor of meeting him in Miami, and he is extraordinary. I can't wait for you to see, hear, and learn more about him. For over 2 decades, he's transformed the entertainment industry, launching thousands of successful careers in modeling, acting, and performing arts, including placements in TV shows like The Walking Dead and campaigns for Apple and Starbucks and NFL ads. As the best-selling author of Finding Fame, Michael's collaborated with legendary figures like Brian Tracy, Michael Gerber, and Dr. Joe Vitale. He is also a dedicated humanitarian, recently knighted for helping raise over $20 million to build schools in Kenya and rescuing over 3,500 children from sex trafficking through the Operation Underground Railroad. Thank you. Tonight, we'll discuss Michael's journey, insights on success, the power of authenticity, and his passion for empowering others. Let's welcome the remarkable Michael Fomkin.
Hey, how are you? Oh my God, it's so exciting to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Cynthia. It is definitely an honor.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's so fun to be spending the 4th of July weekend with you.
Yes, absolutely. There's no better way than bringing value to people's lives, celebrating America. This is absolutely fantastic. And I love your outfit, by the way. That is so cool.
Thank you. It actually belonged to an American Indian chief.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Michael, welcome. Your journey is incredibly inspiring. What initially drew you to talent development in the entertainment industry?
Well, I actually used to work in the restaurant industry for a long time, for over 10 years, and I kind of got burnt out on that. I just woke up one day and it just wasn't for me anymore. I enjoyed it, but it was just the long hours. So I kind of decided, well, I sold the restaurant. And I kind of found myself not knowing what to do with my life. And this was a really long time ago. This was like pre 9/11, before the iPhone, Facebook, a different era and a different time. And I happened to be online and I was looking for a new business to own. And I saw an ad and it was like, own a modeling agency, judge beauty contests, get paid to talk to beautiful people. I was like, wait a second. For the past 10 years, I've been stuck in a restaurant covered in flour, smelling like garlic. And there was a job out there where I could judge beauty contests and meet beautiful people. Sign me up. So I applied for the opportunity. It was a business opportunity. And I had to come down to Orlando. And it wasn't so much about judging beauty contests. It was a software development company. And it was a software that was designed to help modeling ages transition into the digital age. So at this point, like this is going back prior to 2001, at that time, the internet was still kind of brand new. So for the modeling industry, most of that industry was still dealing with paper. So if somebody, needed a model, they would call the agency. They'd say, well, we need a blonde-haired girl, 5'6" to 5'8". The agency would go to their wall and they would have what was called comp cards on the wall. These were made out of paper, and they would pretty much, the way comp cards are designed, they have a headshot in the front, they have 4 photos in the back, they have the model stats, and that's pretty much it. So if you were separating them on a wall, you pretty much would have men and then you'd have women. Then from there, you kind of, would separate it by like hair color. So if somebody was going to the wall and they needed a blonde hair, blue-eyed girl, 5'6" to 5'8", they would grab all the blondes and then they would go through them. 5'9", too tall, 5'3", too short. They would separate them into 2 piles. One pile that qualified for what the client was looking for and one pile that didn't. The pile that qualified, that would be then sent out via courier. So now the courier would have to, deliver it, or it would be overnighted, right? Sent in the mail. There was no digital format for this. The models that didn't qualify, well, they're not going to go back to the wall and kind of put them all back. So most of the time they used to just throw those away because that was the marketing material. That was the responsibility of the models. So if you're a model who like grew up in the 80s and 90s, maybe even early 2000s, you're like, how come I was always running out of comp cards and not getting any work? Well, that's the reason why, because your agent was probably throwing them away. So, and then that package would go out to, the client. The client would then call the agent back, and they would say, okay, I'm interested in this girl or that guy or this guy. The agent would then reach out to the model. If the model was available, they would book them. So as you see, there was a lot of time and expense that was involved in that part of the industry. So the company that had the business opportunity, they were the very first ones to bring that concept to the online market, to create a digital database. So now for talent, literally you can just do a simple search. I need a girl, blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'6" to 5'8", who can play ukulele and also ride a bicycle and all of this. What's very commonplace today, right? For us, we have Facebook pages and Instagrams and TikToks. 20 plus years ago, this world didn't exist. So for today, this is very commonplace. I thought that it was a great idea. I invested in the company. The company went from zero to $150 million in less than 2 years. So they scaled very fast. They had a very big burn rate because they were spending a lot of money and trying to convert agencies to understand this. Because most agencies at this point, for 50, 60 years, they were used to doing everything on paper. So it's just like any new technology. People are just, there are people who will adapt to it, and then there are people who just won't adapt to it. So the company, they wanted to bring in some investors, and they brought in a person by the name of Louis J. Perlman. He was the person who had discovered the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, O-Town. There's actually an interesting documentary about him on Netflix. But he was kind of, even though he seemed really cool and seemed like, he obviously was involved in the entertainment industry, he was actually running a Ponzi scheme. So literally, he claimed he owned an airline, and he wind up at the time, he wind up like getting caught by the FBI. There was this whole craziness. His partner shot himself and committed suicide. Lou Pearlman took off in the middle of the night. And I at the time, I was about a year and a half in with the company, and I had purchased one office, and I just thought Lou was a nice guy. I had no idea of any of this. But when he decided to take off, he took off with everyone's money. He just was like emptying out the bank accounts and all this. He wound up going to jail, and he wound up dying in prison. And the people that he stole all this money from, they pretty much lost all their money. So it was really sad. But I wind up getting a phone call. I had no idea any of this was going on. And I literally just got a phone call, and they were just like, well, hey, you know what? You did a really great job. But just to let you know, we're out of business tomorrow. Lou took off with everybody's money, and we wish you the best of luck. So literally for the second time in my life, I woke up one morning and I found myself with nothing. Like, 2 years of my life gone, my investment gone. I had offices and employees and salary. At the time, I had scaled up very quickly. I was, I'm very good at business. I had one location to actually owning 10 locations throughout the United States. I had offices in New York. I had offices in Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Orlando, San Francisco, New Orleans, San Diego. So I had all these offices and all this staff, and literally, I was, millions of dollars now in debt, and I got this call that everything was gone. So I woke up the next day, and you could do two things. One is you tell yourself your story that everything's over, or two, you say, well, what's next? How do I overcome this? So at the time before Lou had kind of bankrupted the company, he had this idea for doing an event, and I had a lot of people that always would approach me, and they would want to speak to me about, like, how do I get into modeling or acting? Remember, this was a software company, so we were selling software. We were selling software to agencies, which nowadays it's funny because that's the de facto standard. So this software creation that they created 20 years ago, every agency from Ford to Lamina to Click to DNA, this is how the industries run today. Like, they created this entire industry, and they're not really giving credit to it because of what happened with Lou. But anyway, he had this idea for doing an event. And I was like, since a lot of people were coming up to me and they were like, well, do you know anybody in the modeling industry? I'm interested in modeling and acting or music. And I was like, well, not really. I do software, but I can recommend you to this agency. And I saw that there was a need out there for this. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at, instead of being my worst day, I'm going to say this could be my best day. This is something I can go do on my own. I could have full control over how the company is run and so forth. So I decided to build a website and to host an event. And I literally, I didn't have any connections in the industry, zero connections. I had like no connections. You remember, I was software based. So I said, okay, well, shows you how long ago this was. I put up an ad on Craigslist and I says, hey, I want to host an event in the entertainment industry. And you must love kids and you must be knowledgeable, whether it's modeling, acting, TV, film, fashion, the music industry. And you'll be compensated for your time. And oh, by the way, we also will provide lunch. Very simple ad. And I put the ad up on Craigslist and I went to bed and I was like, well, we'll see what happens. It was like literally 2 sentences. I woke up the next day and my email had 40 responses. And I was getting people from like the WWE. I was getting people from movies and television. I had Michael Jackson's producer of the Thriller album. Like I had like all these incredible people. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, these people must love free lunch. Like this is crazy. Well, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize it at the time, but the night I had put that ad up was the night of the writer's strike in New York City. So all of these people were going to kind of be out of work temporarily. So of course, back then you went on Craigslist under gigs and there was my ad. Hey, are you in the entertainment industry? Do you love speaking to kids? We'll pay you and we'll give you lunch. So out of the 40 people that applied for that position, I wind up scaling it down to 10. Here's the interesting story. Those 10 people, I've never run another ad in 18 plus years. Those 10 people now equate to over 500 speakers, 35 which were a part of my book, which was 35 of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry. People who've won Grammys, the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway, the vice president of Warner Brothers casting of all of North America, stars from The Sopranos, The Walking Dead, all of these, various projects, you see that we've now accomplished. We've won 38 awards. We've won 6 Tonys. 2013, we won the Tony for Best Play. I was knighted. We've done all these things. 4 soon to be best-selling books. We've never had to run another ad. All of that came from those 10 people. Because
Wow.
10 people loved what we were doing so much, they referred somebody. And then those people referred somebody. And we just kept going up and up and up to working with people like Mark Victor Hansen and Les Brown and having partnerships around the world, becoming partners with Tony Robbins and just all these incredible things. And it shows you the power when you're in the right room, you bring value to others, your life will change in ways you can't ever possibly imagine. So that's kind of like the 30-second version or the 5-minute version of how I got started. Literally my life started as a dishwasher and now I've accomplished all that. And I'm just getting started, to be honest with you. So everything, and that's just building the foundation of what's next.
You've achieved the most extraordinary success. What is the most important lesson you learned upon your journey?
Bringing value to people is definitely the lesson. If you're going to work with, you have to surround yourself with people who are more successful than you are. Like if you're going to surround yourself with people who are doing less than you are, they're going to keep holding you back. People will always hold you back that are doing less than you are. So you always have to reach out to people who do more than you're doing, because those people will help pull you up. The people that are behind you, they'll pull you down. Now, obviously, there are people who will look up to you. There are people who will, want that mentorship. There are people who want to learn. But I find that a lot of people who, just don't understand the power of being in the right rooms. They let their mindset hold them back. They let other people hold them back. And, two of the best lessons I've ever heard, from Tony Robbins was one. We were sitting and talking one time. We were in West Palm Beach. And he said, this key to success is surrounding yourself with the best people in the world. So if you're an entrepreneur, finding the best people for your media buying, finding the best people for, building out your platforms. It always comes down like when you don't know what to do, there's the who. And a lot of times people, when they go out and they try to find the who, they find somebody based upon price. Like they'll look, well, this person's the cheapest, or this person was, a friend of mine's working with them. Like you have to be able to ask yourself, is this the best person in the world at what they're doing? I see that all the time in the modeling industry with people, they'll invest thousands of dollars into photos because they found somebody on a Google search, or they saw photos that they liked, or they saw a photographer who's doing photos of people that they look up to. That doesn't necessarily equate to that being the best photographer for you. Like, who's the best person that you can work with? So it's the same thing. And I know it's really hard when somebody's starting out, like, how do I figure it out? At the end of the day, it goes down by results. Like, well, who has the person worked with? What are the actual results? Not what they're telling you, not what their website's telling you, but like, are they working with really strong people in the industry, people who are accomplishing what you want to accomplish? So whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're writing a book, you're an author, whatever it may be, like us, even for us, like, we're co-writing a book currently with Dr. Joe Vitale. We've worked with Mark Victor Hansen, Les Brown, Michael Gerber. It's not been announced yet, and I'll share it with you here tonight, but we're currently working co-authoring with Jack Canfield. So we're working on a book with him. So like, we know, like, if we're going to co-author books, or we're going to offer the opportunity for people to co-author books, we're going to find the best people, like legends of the industry. It's the same exact process we follow in the entertainment industry, finding people who are really currently working in the industry. I see so many people get taken advantage of in the entertainment industry because they chase after the dream. I want to be on TV. And then somebody says, well, great, if you give me money, I'll put you on TV. And they'll pay the money and they believe it's going to happen. And then a week later, it doesn't. And then that company disappears, and then they feel disappointed. And I'm like, well, I feel bad for you, but common sense says, wait a second, if it was so easy to be on TV, everybody would do it. If it was so easy to become a best-selling author, everybody would do it. You have to like really sit back and say to yourself, hey, Dr. Joe Vitale, he's done over 90 books. Brian Tracy, a legend in the industry. We run his mastermind for him. We've co-authored books with him. These are people who've accomplished great things. That's who you have to align yourself with. And if people say, well, but Mike, you've been doing it for 18 years, it sounds easy. Yeah, it's easy now, but it wasn't easy. When we first started, we started with nothing. You have to find that one person, like being on a show like yourself. Obviously, you're connected to Mark Victor Hansen. You're connected to all these powerful people. So your listeners, hey, you're one step away from meeting these people, right? So you have to see it's not about having the resources. It's about being resourceful and just taking a step back and not rushing through things. But when an opportunity comes, you say yes. Because at the end of the day, time is your most valuable asset. I've learned that over and over again. So many people worry about money and they have this poverty mindset. Money is replaceable. You can always make more money. You can get another job, but you can't replace time. Time is your most valuable resource. And I've seen so many people where maybe we've interviewed people, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And at that point in life, they were afraid to lean into who they truly were. And then they allow 10 years to go by before they finally decide to step up to the plate. Imagine what you could have accomplished in 10 years. So many people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in a decade. You have to plan your life out. Like, you have to have goals. And it doesn't matter how creative the goals are, you break them down into smaller segments so you can actually accomplish them. You break things down into small things. What's step one? Step two? If there's 100 steps, the only step that matters is the next step. You don't worry about step 100. You worry about just what can I be doing today? For like the talent I work with, I'm telling them all the time, do you want to watch Netflix or do you want to be on Netflix? What are you currently doing to make that happen? Do you have a monologue ready? Do you have headshots? If I put you in a room with the vice president of Warner Brothers Casting, do you know what SAG-AFTRA is? And so many times people are excited. And I'm like, these are the kinds of questions. You ask better questions, you're going to get better results.
Fantastic. John says, wow, whoosh. And Grace Cavalieri says, fascinating story. And John, I
Well,
hope
thank you,
you,
Grace.
yes, she's amazing. You got to catch one of my replays and see Grace Cavalieri, a poet laureate of Maryland, on the Library of Congress radio station in the past 49 years.
Wow.
Your companies have launched countless successful careers. What do you think sets apart the talent who truly make it?
They show up and they have determination, but they show up and they actually follow the framework and they actually listen, and they have, I guess a good word is like discipline. Like, they're willing to make a sacrifice now to be able to have what it is that they're really looking for. Right. So it's just a matter of, my business partner, Alicia, she always likes to say it's like, it comes down to like really good people skills. And then taking the advice, if I sit down with Tony Robbins and he says, Mike, this is what you're doing wrong, you should do this. I write that down and I follow it to a T. A lot of times I'll have, and I'm not going to name names, but I've had people in rooms with, senior casting directors for The Walking Dead or Stranger Things, and they'll give the person advice, and then the person will kind of say, well, no, but I think I should do it this way. And I'm like, okay, well, she's the casting director. You're not. If she's giving you that advice, I would follow it. Like, you're in the room with this person. And I don't know what triggers people to do that. I don't know if it's an insecurity, but it's like, to me, I love advice. Like, I just, if you tell me I can do something better, I am ready to run with it. Like, you have to have coaches, you have to have mentors, you have to have people that are consistently looking out for your best interest and are there to push you forward, to, like I said, to lift you up, to get you to that next level. And if you don't have that opportunity to have somebody in your life, go to the library, go to Barnes and Nobles, go online, watch videos, ask better questions. Like, I tell people all the time, like, follow the path of somebody else who's successful, right? Like, if you're looking to be a great author, what are the authors you look up to most? How did they get their start? Where did they go to school? Did you read all their content? Did you watch all of their interviews? Success leaves clues. Like, we live in an age now where every single bit of information you could ever possibly need is available at your fingertips within seconds, right? And it's just a matter of taking the moment to do it. And I see so many times people struggle where they feel like they don't know the answers. And I'm like, well, you just need to ask better questions, right? Really break things down, follow a path. It's a recipe, right? It's just like, I worked in the restaurant industry. If I gave you a recipe to bake a cake and you follow that recipe, the cake's going to come out pretty much identical to my cake. Maybe there's a change of altitude, maybe you'd have a different oven, but if you literally follow everything to a T, you're going to have the same results. And I've met people, I've met so many people worth hundreds of millions, even, a few billionaires, and literally they all say the same thing. Like, there's nothing different between them and a person who has $10 to their name. The difference is the person who's very successful. And I never judge money as being the level of success. Money is just a result of being successful, right? It's kind of like, that's how you track score. And just having more financial abundance allows you to do more. It allows you to give back more. It allows you to help your family. So, you have to take care of yourself. But when people say, I want to be a billionaire, what does that really mean? Like, okay, great. If you had $1 billion tomorrow, what would you even do with it? Well, I buy a car, I buy houses, I do this, I do that. And I know the person's on the path of failing when they're saying that to me. But if you really do the math, you probably couldn't spend it all, right? Like, a lot of times people don't even realize, like, write down everything you want in life. I want a house in Paris. I want a house in Italy. I want 5 cars. I want, whatever it may be. I want a masseuse. I want somebody to work out. Like, just keep writing down everything you could ever possibly have and then put a number to it and then total that up. And that's a more realistic number of where your life should really be. And what most people find out is when they do that little exercise, they realize they don't need as much as they thought they needed, right? When they're able to sit there and really say, what do I want in my life? Another simple exercise is take a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, on one side, write, who am I right now? Say like, literally be honest with yourself. Write down who you are right now. Everything you have going on in your life, everything that you may feel that you're lacking, whatever it may be, who are you at this very moment? Take the back side of the paper and then write, who do you want to become? Right? I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to be, a world-class athlete. Whatever it may be. I want to be a 7-figure earning entrepreneur. Whatever it may be. Now take the sheet and then just fill in the gaps. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to be. What do I need to make that happen? And it's like literally a 5, 10, 15-minute exercise, but it will change your life because now you have a plan. Now you can say, this is where I am. This is where I want to be. This is who I am now. This is who I want to be, and fill in the gaps. And if you don't know how, then find the who. Who can help me become that world-class athlete? Who can help me become that model, that actor, that musician? Who can help me become a best-selling author, a successful entrepreneur? Whatever it may be. Who can help me with my relationship? Where can I find the perfect significant other? Maybe you're single. Whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, who you are now and who do you want to be, and just fill in the gaps.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's dropping pure pearls here. Please share this out. Everyone should be doing this. Oh my goodness. It's so good, Michael. What's the common misconception people have about breaking into entertainment?
I think a lot of people feel the number one thing we hear is that I'm too old. I live in the wrong location. I don't live in Hollywood. I don't live in New York. A lot of people, the first misconception they have is they always think that models are young, skinny, and walk the runways of Paris and Milan and live this glitzy and glamorous life. That's the exact opposite. Even though that's the biggest misconception, the reality is that's the smallest segment of the industry. High fashion and editorial are less than 10% of the entire industry. 80% of the industry is what's called commercial print modeling. So magazines, billboards, catalogs. Our most successful model, she's 61 years old. She's done ads for Starbucks, the NFL, AT&T, Verizon. When you're older, there's more opportunity out there and there's less competition. I tell people, yeah, it's like somebody like yourself, right? You qualify for dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of products, right? You have the personality, the smile, you have the experience as a former model. So for most people, that's what they really feel is like what's holding them back is age. Age is not holding you back. The older you are, the more work there actually is. And then location really doesn't matter. Over the past few years, if you would have spoken to a casting director, several years ago, they would have been like, I will not jump on a Zoom call. That's just not how I do it. They have to be in front of me. It's the complete opposite now. Like our talent are literally all over the United States, all over the world. They jump on a Zoom call. They'll submit their digitals. They'll submit their reel. They shoot a video on their phone. Like the digital age has transformed how the industry works. And now even Hollywood, like, they're a $500 million studio opening up in South Jersey. There's locations in Atlanta, New Orleans, Orlando, Miami. Like there's so much out there filming. There's independent projects. There's indie projects. Local advertising agencies. Like think about when you're wherever you live. You could be living in the middle of nowhere. Turn on your TV and you're going to see ads targeted towards that area. You'll see magazines and companies. Those are all working with local advertising agencies, regional advertising agencies. There are regional photographers and local photographers and makeup artists, right? Yeah, of course, the bigger projects you want to be in, Law and Order or something. Yeah, that's filming in New York, but you can start in your local area, right? You start in even if it's doing community theater, working with local advertising agencies. There's so much opportunity out there. It's unbelievable. Like we do a production assistant training program where we train production assistants. These are people who work behind the scenes on productions. And like literally one of our talents just got booked like literally in like Minnesota somewhere, like in the middle of nowhere. She's working for a local community theater, but now she's working behind the scenes. She's working on set. She's working with actors. Like there's so much regional theater. These shows travel throughout the country. Like there's so much opportunity out there. Like you can literally change your life if you just walk out your door and know how to find these opportunities. But so many people, they just sit down and say, well, I live in the wrong area. I'm too old. And they give up. They don't even try when literally there's just so much out there. Like you can look on community on film boards. Every state has a film board. Like it'll show you every film that's filmed in your state. Just type in film board space your state and you'll see it'll come up and you'll see all the productions that's shot in your state. You'll see upcoming productions. They have meetups and meetings. Like get involved in the community. There's so much you can do. And here's the best part. It costs you absolutely nothing to do that.
Grace says, people say luck plays a part in success, or is luck just hard work?
There is no such thing as luck. It's hard work. It's just getting out there. You create your own luck, 100%.
100%.
There's 155%.
Could you share a particularly memorable success story from your clients?
Probably. Well, actually, let's see. Well, we had one of our talent did a Pepsi ad for the World Series, was pretty cool.
Ooh.
We had Billy Magnuson. He's really great. He was actually a theater major. He had the opportunity to be in our show on Broadway. He was selected by Pat Addis. She's a big Broadway producer. We were executive producers on the show. And Sigourney Weaver had came to see the show one night, and Billy was kind of playing this cute boyfriend in the show. But it was called, the name of the show is Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike. It's based upon the writings of Chekhov. For those of you that are theater majors, will be all excited about that. But Sigourney Weaver came to the show. She saw Billy. She thought he was really great. And at the time, she was working on a project called Into the Woods with Disney. She said, "Hey, they were looking for a person to play one of the characters in that movie." She recommended him. She came backstage after the show. Of course, she's Sigourney Weaver. She spoke with him. Next thing you know, he got booked for the Disney movie, and that literally has taken off to his career. Like, he was in the James Bond movie. He was in Bridge of Spies with Tom Hanks. He has a show right now running on Amazon. Like, he's not like a household name, but he starred in a Steven Spielberg production. He's been in like a dozen movies. He has he's like the leading role in a show on Amazon. So like, that's kind of something I'm really proud of, because it shows you, again, putting in the hard work, transitioning from theater to TV and film, like how those steps can happen for people. And I tell people all the time, like, even Bobby Fernaro, he's from The Sopranos. He's one of our acting coaches. And he's done, he's been in movies with Denzel Washington, American Gangster, dozens and dozens of films and TV and commercials and so forth. And he started in theater. Like, I tell people all the time, so many times people come to me, "I want to be an actor." And I'm like, "Great. Have you done any theater?" "No, I don't really like theater." "Okay, well, if you want to be a great actor, you better start liking theater." It's like people in the music industry. I tell people all the time, "I want to be a famous, rapper. I want to be a pop star." I'm like, "Great. Do you write your own songs?" "Well, no, not really." "Do you understand music? Can you write music?" "No." "Okay, well, how are you going to do this if you can't even write music?" Like, so many times people want to jump to the top of the pile and don't realize, like, these people you idolize, they dedicated their lives to this craft. Like, even Denzel Washington started in theater. Like, there's a love of performing live on stage. It helps you understand the industry so much. Tom Cruise just recently did an interview, and one of the things he attributes his success to is understanding the lens, understanding that how the lens will see him in the shot, and it makes him a better actor, right? These are things you should be studying. You want to be an actor. Do you understand lenses? Do you understand, set production? Do you understand cold reads and scripts? Are you studying scripts? Are you practicing every day, right? People want the praise in public, but they forget what people do in private, right? There's like websites for free scripts. You can download scripts. Like, there's so much out there. Again, we live in this most incredible age where all this information's out there. Even our company, we have a school group. We have like 600 hours worth of content. We give it away for free. Like, we give it away for free. And I check the stats all the time. I'll see like 1% of the videos were watched. Yet people are like, "I want to be an actor. I want to be a model." I'm like, here's like one of the senior cast members from America's Next Top Model, who was like one of the top models at Ford's, traveled all over the world. Literally, like, there's 10 hours of him walking you through the entire industry. I have the senior casting director of The Gap, Banana Republic, breaking down how talent are cast for major campaigns. I give this away for free, like, for free. Even my book, you can download it for free. Literally 35 of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry. It's like a step-by-step guide. It's like, yeah, there you go, right there, right? There's a digital version you can download for free. That one's from Amazon, right? But here's the thing. Again, sometimes people who pay attention. That's what I really discovered. When you're going to invest in your career, you want a return on investment. Sometimes when you give stuff away for free, people just don't appreciate it. There seems to be no value into that. So, maybe I should rethink about giving away all this free stuff now. So, but no, I do it because I help people, and we want to, that's part of our values for the company, is to always give back, to always help. And the people who do utilize it, that 1%, 2%, they become our biggest success stories. So it's sometimes, Tony Robbins, one time I was sitting with him and Russell Brunson, he told a story about a helicopter pilot working for the Coast Guard. And it was like his very first day. He had just graduated from, Coast Guard school, and he was in charge of, flying the helicopter. And of course, it's his first day on the job, and he gets a call that there's a boat in the water that's turned over, and all these people are floundering around in the water. And he has to fly his helicopter out there. And when he gets there, he looks behind him and he counts how many seats are in the helicopter. And then he looks at the people in the water and he sees there are more people in the water floundering about than there are seats in the helicopter. And he goes, I don't know what to do here because I have to make a decision now. Who do I save? Because by the time I save a certain group, by the time I come back and forth, they may not survive. People are going to die. So he calls, his captain and he says, I don't know what to do here. He says, this is what you do. You start bringing the helicopter down to the water. The people who are going to survive will swim towards you. The ones who are not ready to be saved, or the ones who aren't meant to be saved, they will continue floundering about. And as a business owner, as somebody who's a mentor, as a coach, you can only help the people who are swimming towards you. You cannot help the people that are swimming away from you, that are floundering about, that just don't want to accept your help and advice. And I'll tell you something, I tortured myself for well over a decade trying to help everybody, believing I could help everyone if they just would listen and I, would do it. And then when I heard that, it just shifted my whole perspective. You can only help the people who are swimming towards you. And when you accept that, it changes your whole perspective. And now you can pour more love and more value into the people that want that help. And you see it in bad relationships all the time. We talk to hundreds of people, that their significant other doesn't support them. Well, I really want to do this. This has been a lifelong dream of mine, but my significant other doesn't want me to do this. And I my answer is like, well, it sounds like it's not you. It sounds like you need to get a new husband or a new wife. Like seriously, but people won't do it. Right. Imagine that. Imagine you said, I do. You're with somebody in a relationship for decades. And this is your dream. You want to go out and have fun, right? You want to be a part of a community. You want to do something. And the person's like, no, you're not doing that. How insecure is that person? How controlling is that person to not allow you to live their dreams? I ask people all the time, like, well, let me ask you something. Does your significant other, what do they do? Right? What do they do for a living? Do they have hobbies? Do they go out? Do they do anything? Do you stop them? But I tell people all the time, like, if you're living your best life, then let me live my best life. Right? Like, obviously, no one stopped you from marrying me. Nobody stopped us from having kids. Nobody, whatever it may be, nobody stopped us. Right? You chose me, I chose you, and you're living your best life. If you're living your best life, then allow me to also live my best life. Allow me the opportunity to grow and so forth. Because when you're in a relationship like that, that person's just controlling you. That person's holding you back. And it's no matter how hard it may be, and it's fear. Well, if I leave, this is going to happen. How can I get a divorce? What if, you know what? You figure it out. When you make a decision to change your life, or they have to change, you make the decision to move forward. Then let them be the one. Now it's their move, right? If they become violent, they become angry. Well, guess what? My first advice was the best advice. Leave. Right? Take out your phone. Oh, you're getting a little violent with me? Let me film that. Hold on. The lawyers are going to love that in court, right? But it's the truth. But I see so many people lose decades of their life because they allow somebody else to control their life. You can't. If you love somebody, they're going to support you no matter what. They're going to be there for you to say, try, make it happen. I'm there for you. Our biggest success stories, they have the love and support of their family. One of our talents, she was a church secretary. She was making like $35,000 a year. She now books out an average of $35,000 a day. Her biggest job was $100,000 for a Yo Play ad. And her husband now, who supported her, right, never said no to her, enjoyed her doing this. He now has been in NFL ads because there are so many times castings come in. They're like, oh, we need a couple. Is your husband available to shoot? And boom. So now he's on set, right? So think about like when you say yes to something, how much that changed their lives. Like, she literally makes in one day what she used to take her an entire year of her life to make, right? So imagine, like, all of a sudden, like, your financial problems go away. Now you have more stuff to do with your kids, your grandkids. You pay off, like all these dreams can come true because you said yes and you believed in yourself. And so many times people just, they have so much potential, and somebody doesn't believe in them. They don't believe in themselves, and they just let it all go to waste. And I tell people all the time, I can't believe in you or want this more than you want this. And I've seen that in entrepreneurs, models, actors, musicians, in the whole gambit of people. Like there's like, again, there's just so much opportunity. You just have to go out there and just try, right? Just make the effort. And if you make a mistake, you figure out what you did wrong and then you correct it, right?
Mhm.
That's all it is. It's a simple process. You improve things by 1%. You don't try to double things down. I'm going to double down. No, 1%. What could I have done better? Just by 1%. One little tweak, one little mistake. How do I fix it? What I learned from that, right? The greatest days of my life were the days I made the biggest mistakes, because now I learned what not to do. And the next time I'm going to do it better. That's how you are able to open up multiple companies. That's how you're able to, balance so many things. It's just learning from all these mistakes. And then the fastest way, of course, is to be in the rooms with people who made mistakes, right? Reading great books, meeting great people. Every single great person I've ever worked with, their story always begins in hardship. Their story always begins. Even Joe Vitale was homeless at one time. Brian Tracy couldn't land a client for the life of him, thought he was going to lose everything. Tony Robbins, for the first part of his career, couldn't even book out a room. Like 5 people showing up, right? One of his first business partners took literally $2 million from him. He lost everything, couldn't make payroll, had to wake up the next day and tell his staff and employees, we're starting from scratch. I will make this up to you. And then had to dedicate 7 years or 10 years of his life to catching up. He wasn't that success story. You see it in actors. The thousands of rejections, years of doing this. And then finally something hits. You can overcome all that pain by learning from them and speeding up the process. You try to reinvent the wheel. Yes, it's going to take you forever. But if you say, hey, here's how a wheel's made. Here's how a car's made. Here's how a career's made. Here's how a best-selling book is put together. You find, again, the best people. It goes back to very simple principles, but just applying them, being disciplined, and then having focus. Deneen, she's the vice president of talent services. She does a great training. We do boot camps once a month. They're free. Literally, it's 2 days online on Zoom. You show up for 2 full days from 11 in the morning to 6 o'clock at night. We have speakers and agents and trainings. And one of our trainings she does is called the Circle of Focus. And it's pretty simple. She draws a circle and she says, okay, if you want to be an actor and you only focused on acting, it has 100% of your attention. Right? But then people say, okay, well, but I have to go to work. Okay, great. So now you draw the circle in half. Now you got acting and work. So now you can only put 50% of the effort. Then people say, well, I got kids. Okay, well, let's draw another line. And they go, well, I got to go to the gym, but I also want time for myself. This, that, the other thing. And before you know it, the circle has a million lines going through it. But here's the thing. You only focus on one thing. Okay, great. I'm going to focus on my acting on Mondays from 7 to 8. I'm going to focus on the kids on these hours. Like, you break things down again. So the circle of focus allows you to have clarity on what you're focusing. How many times do people wake up every day and they're like, I just have no time. There's just no time in the world. Great. Wake up an hour early, go to bed an hour late. That's 14 hours a week. That's like 50 hours a month. That's 600 hours a year. That's 12 weeks. I just found you 12 weeks, right? Or how many times do people actually say, when I woke up, I had no time. Okay, what did you do when you woke up? Well, I don't know. I got up and I brushed my teeth. Okay, did you really get up? So you woke your eyes up, you jumped out of bed and ran into the bathroom and brushed your teeth? Well, no, I checked my email, my messages. Then what'd you do? Well, I had to use the restroom first. Oh, okay. So you're doing things. Well, how long did it take you to check your emails? How long did it take you to go potty? How long did it take you to finally brush your teeth? Like, people think they're doing a lot when they actually measure. Tony Robbins taught me this. He measures and he takes it to a whole nother level, right? He owns 1,000 companies, does $12 billion. So I'm not giving you this advice to say you need to do this to Tony's level. And I'm not saying this to impress you. What I want to impress upon you is somebody I was very close to, how he lives his life. He measures time by like the second. So he knows, hey, I'm going to spend 2 minutes doing this. Then in minute 3, I do this. He measures his entire day. He's very, very analytical with that. Even when he's speaking from stage, if he's off stage for 5 minutes, there's somebody waiting with him on what he could be working on. Why waste 5 minutes standing there when he could be doing something? So he accounts for time very differently, but he accounts for time when it's going to be time for family, when's going to be time to rest, when's it going to be time to meditate. And he wakes up every day and he meditates. Set your day up great. Like if you wake up every morning and you just take the first 15 minutes to just say to yourself, what are you grateful for? What a wonderful, like, think about this. So many times people come to me, I have the worst life in the world. And I'm like, do you know that to your life, to somebody else, you are living their dream? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have a car? Do you have food in your refrigerator? Do you have your mom and dad still in your life? Do you have people that love you? You're living somebody else's dream. Be so grateful for that. Be grateful for everything you have. Don't focus on what you don't have. Focus on what you have and how can that get you the things that you may want or the things that can push your life forward. Because if you go out and again, you provide value, you become resourceful, you focus on what you have, right? So many people are listen to your calls. So many people have read your books. You're a resource to them. How do you use that? What value could I bring to Cynthia? Could I invite her to be on my podcast? Could I invite her? I'm going to recommend her book. I'm speaking at an event. There's going to be 1,000 people there. I would love to invite Cynthia to speak at that event. Like, think of all the things you have. What could you bring to Cynthia's life? Now you brought value to her life. Now all of a sudden Cynthia says, you know what? Wow, that person's great. Right? Me and you have met. We've met in person. We've been to events together. We know the same. We run with the same people. We have a lot of the same relationships. So when you said to me, hey, I brought value to your life, you said, well, Michael, come be on my podcast. Absolutely, I'm going to be here. Right? And then from there, you start developing more relationships. There are people who will listen to this call that will reach out to me. And then all of a sudden, I've met a new person and so forth. So again, don't focus on what you don't have. Focus and be grateful for what you have. Because again, your life is somebody else's dream. And when you realize that, it will change your perspective. That's why you need a big why. The reason, we're raising $20 million to build schools in Kenya, helping free children from sex trafficking, because there are days I wake up, there are days how hard. There are days I don't want to. I just want to lie in bed and pull the covers over, right? But then I say, no, there's a child out there right now who may be chained to a tree, who's suffering the most unimaginable abuse possible. And if I don't get out of this bed and help save her in my smallest way possible, right? I can't save everybody, but if I could just save one more person, if I could put food on one more person's table, then how dare I stay in bed? So you have to have that why. So many times people say, well, my family's my why. Yes, but you need a bigger why than that. Because your family's always there for you. And you can always be there for your family, unless you're one of those people whose husband doesn't support you or your wife doesn't believe in your dreams. Well, then you need to reshift things. But my point being is family's important, but you need an even bigger why than that. What can I do? You have to have something you can step into that gets you so fired up in the morning that you're just ready to tackle the world. I keep a to-do list next to me. You can't see it here, but it literally has 40 items on it. And throughout the day, I check off what I'm working on. And then at the end of the day, we rewrite it up. And then boom, the next day we add what else. That's another great thing. Like, people don't know what to do. Remember that list with the gap right on the front, where you are, where you want to be. The gap becomes your to-do list. And you just write down a list. Right? I'll try and see if I can swing this over so I can. Guys, tell me I'm not. Look, see it right there. All right. There's my list. You can see all the things I've been checking off today. Right? There you go. So my point being is, create a to-do list. Brian Tracy teaches that. Write down a list of what your goals are, and then what do you need to accomplish each of those goals. Break down those steps, and then every day carry that list over. Do one thing. I was on a call with Russell Brunson this morning, and he talked about people don't read as much anymore. Find a motivational book and just set a stopwatch, 13 minutes and 57 seconds, and read. 30, right? You know that one, right? 13 minutes and 57 seconds, read. And literally when the timer goes off, stop reading. Even if you're in the middle of a sentence, stop right there, right? But have the discipline to do that. And I can guarantee you in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, your life's going to change in ways you can't even recognize it anymore. Whether it's reading, keeping a journal, updating that to-do list, having goals, having dreams, finding the right people. And when you go out and you do that, you start attracting the right people. All of a sudden, there's no magic there. It's you changed. And the people before who didn't see you, they now see you. And that's how you attract the right people into your life. I tell people all the time, I want an agent. Great. Become the person an agent wants to have. That's how you get an agent in this industry. So
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that, Robert. He's been redeveloping a reading habit. Uh,
yes.
and
Scientifically proven, people who consistently use ChatGPT for writing, it actually changes your brain. You start like deteriorating in the strength of writing, the strength of understanding patterns, pattern recognition. So even though ChatGPT and AI is a great tool, we could spend a week talking about AI in the entertainment industry. But you want to keep reading. You want to read, picking up a book, holding it, turning the pages. Yeah, exactly. So.
highlighting it, reading
Yep,
it, holding
highlighting
down the
it,
good
yes. Oh my
pages.
god. Brian Tracy, when I was with him, he reads through every book like 3 times. He highlights them. He rewrites all the important points down, and what that does is triggers different parts of your brain. The reading triggers one part, the highlighting triggers another, writing it down triggers a third, and you'll retain all that information. He's, 80 something years old, and literally you can ask him on any topic, on anything, he just pulls the facts one after another. And I sat there one time. We were at in San Diego. I was like, "How do you do this? Like, I want to do this." He's like, "It's really simple." He goes, "I read through it 3 times. I highlight it, then I write the notes." He goes, "That's simple." But he goes, "It's the simplicity of it that you have to be disciplined to do it, not just pick up a book and read it, but actually take the time to go through the information and understand it and write it down. And when you see a word you don't understand, you immediately stop, look up the word, and so forth. It's like building a muscle, right? Just working out, working out, working out.
And just say yes, ask, just say
Yeah,
yes, ask.
just
So
say
look at
yes.
um, VIP Ignite. I was looking at this and I went, huh. And I attended one of those weekends where you learned
Mhm.
all about it. And I was like, there's something here. Let me check it out. So you can put up, Eric, the pictures from Miami. So I signed up and went to VIP Ignite just in the last 30 days in Miami.
Yeah,
Here we are
I
on the
was up on the
rooftop.
rooftop. Yeah, we're over. That was a private rooftop, a private club we had. We were all hanging out there, having drinks, watching the sunset. That was a great night. And we had Alex was there, the music producer was there. Had a whole bunch of people. There we are. You can see so that was after 3 days at the event. So my hair's a mess. I haven't shaved. It was when you're doing events, yeah, it's a lot of long hours. So there we are behind the scenes with the book. That was probably at either the event or maybe the photo shoot, or maybe that was an inner circle party or something we were doing somewhere.
Actually,
There we go.
It's at Alex J's studio.
Alex J Studio. There you go. Yeah,
Here we
that's right. That's at Alex J Studio. That is
Yes,
it.
it is. And here's the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
And your book is a bestseller. What inspired you to write this book?
Um, that book took like 7 years to work on. When we first started, we were consistently going over the basics of the industry with people, over and over and over again. So we were like, we had met so many great people at that time, and we were just like, you know what? They had so much information. Like they just like it was just mind blowing. Like the vice president of Warner Brothers talking about casting process, and Bobby Finaro from The Sopranos, and Emmy award winning actors and Academy award winning actors and producers from hit TV shows and people in fashion, the former art director of Vogue magazine. They had all this knowledge and nobody was capturing it. Like it was just there. Like it was just they were amongst themselves. So I reached out to them. I says, "Hey, we want to write a book. We'd love to just like interview you and write a book and share your knowledge with people." So it's the book is kind of like my journey and Alicia's journey, how we got started, intertwined with all of these various people in the entertainment industry. It's literally like a step-by-step guide to understand everything from TV, film, fashion, the music industry, and just from all perspectives, not only from working on stage, but behind the scenes, producers, production, fashion. It's a really great read. It's something we're really proud of. And it's a great read. Even if you're not interested in the industry, it's one of those books you just can't put it down once you start reading it. And it's got some juicy, scandalous stuff in there and all that. So it's definitely an entertaining read.
You were recently knighted. We're running out of time. I can't believe it. We're gonna have to have you back. We've got so much to talk about. But recently knighted, Eric, will you play that little piece so we can talk about your incredible humanitarian efforts and what drove you towards these events? Here it comes. Check this out, folks. He is Sir Michael now. Woohoo!
Yeah. Yeah, that was just a few weeks ago. So yeah, so I'm part of the Royal Order of Cappadocia, which is connected to Saint Helen and Constantine the Great. And if you're familiar with Christianity, Saint Helen was the person who kind of expanded Christianity into the world. Constantine was the one who opened up Christianity to the Roman Empire. Without those two, Christianity wouldn't have existed. So the order of knighthood is the oldest knighthood in the world. It goes back to 327 BC. Um, and the Prince of Spain was there. He flew in, and I was nominated. So it's not something you can buy. You can't buy being a knight. It was something I was recommended by a friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine, Bill Walsh, who's also was knighted. And I didn't know about this. I just got a call one day, and somebody said, "Well, you've been nominated for a knighthood." And I was just like, "What?" I was like, "Well, that's pretty cool." And I wind up finding it was Bill, and myself and Bill have been friends now for close to a decade, and I look up to him more than anyone in the world. Like if there are people, imagine like there are just people in your phone that if you knew you were in the worst position in your life, you needed $1 million, you needed them to come rescue you. Who could you call? Right? You needed $10,000 in 5 minutes. Who could you call? Bill's one of those people in my life, and I'm in his life. Whenever he needs something, I am there. It doesn't matter where I am in the world. I stop everything and I go. So he nominated me for this opportunity, and it's the knighthood itself is awesome, but it's not about the title. The knights of old, they fought with swords, right? Today you use your heart, you use your mind. So the knighthood allows you to remember to understand what could you do to make the world a better place. So all of the knights together, we help raise money. We help, kids, orphans, like just different things that we can do to help change the world. Um, and that's what it's about. So the interesting thing that was really cool is, I've always looked up to Bill. So when you go get knighted, since he was the one who nominated you, you walk to the stage behind him. So you walk to the stage behind him. You have to go up on the stage, you kneel, you get knighted. But then when you leave the stage, he walks behind you. And the Marines were there, and they had choirs, and it was all this, everyone's announced in the robes, and it was an amazing it was amazing experience for the ambiance and the production of it. Like it was like, of the olden days, right? Like what the world was like 1,000 years ago or something. An experience I will ever be grateful for. I will always remember it. I'm so thankful for it in the morning. And it was fun. And, I had to wear the whole, suit and the tux and all that with the tails. And I get knighted. So when you get knighted, you rise a knight, and then they give you this big sword, and then you get this plaque and this award, and then you're carrying this sword, and this plaque weighs like 20 pounds. It's so heavy. Then you holding on to this sword in the other hand. You then have to go down these stairs, and I'm standing there holding this. I'm like, oh my God, I hope I don't fall. And I've been on a real big health journey. I've lost like 35 pounds. So I've been, working out. I have a coach. So as I'm walking down the red carpet, it's like a New York City block long. It's really long. So I'm holding all this. As I'm holding all this, I start feeling my pants start moving a little bit. And I'm like, oh my God, I think my pants might fall down. I literally, there's like 200 people in the room. There's all these, important people, and people travel from all over the world. And I'm like, oh, it didn't happen, but it's a pretty, so even in the greatest moments, you got to get through, right? People are like, oh my God, you were knighted. And they see these photos. The photo, that face I have is like, I hope my pants doesn't fall down and all. But it's a great experience, and it's such a great cause to help give back. Sir Dr. James Dentley's a part of it. And, there's a lot of great things we're going to be working on. We just had a call today, and so many amazing things. Like we're really going to take this to a whole nother level to make even a bigger impact and so forth. And it's a great place to be, no matter who you are, making changes in the world. So, but I'll turn this back over to you because I see we're at the top of the hour here.
But it went by so fast, and I didn't even get through 1/6 of the questions I have
Mhm.
for you. We'll have to have another conversation so I can catch up. Let's throw out where the listeners can reach you and learn more about your work. There is a one of those weekend things coming up on July 5, Saturday, 11 a.m. for 90 minutes. You can
Yep.
go to vpmignitelive.com and join that. It is free. It is 90 minutes, and you can find out all the little details about how to further your career. Because what are you doing for yourself? What are you doing? Because you've already made it through all the hardest things in your life. You're right here. So now make it your most joyful, happy life. You are in charge of your ship. Make it go in the direction you want it to go. Lastly, what is one key message you hope listeners will take away from our conversation tonight?
Um, Really, I think the most important thing I went over tonight is be grateful for everything you have in your life. Be really grateful for that. Wake, even just after this call, just spend 5 minutes, write down everything you're grateful for, all the things that you have, how important they are: food on the table, a roof over your head, people that love you, your cat, your whatever it may be, right? Your community. Don't concentrate on the things that are holding you back. Focus on the beautiful things in your life. Um, and realize and focus on it, because you have more than you realize. And I think people don't understand that. They chase after materialistic things so much. Focus on the beautiful things that you have, and it
I have one,
changes you.
I have
So
one question we did answer from Grace Cavalieri. What made you produce Chekhov?
it was a great show. It was an absolutely great show. So it was Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike, which was based on the writings of Chekhov. Which is, if you're a theater major, you'll have a great appreciation for that. It's just a very witty, high level kind of dialogue in the show. The show was the number one licensed show in the world at the time. It won the Tony for best play. So it was a great, great, great show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Grace. So you're in America, the land of the free, the land.
Yeah.
We're celebrating July 4th. Go out there, help somebody, be kind, open the door for someone, turn around, make your best self. America was built just the way Michael has built himself. Love you, Mike. That was amazing, 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 amazing. Play this again, replay it, listen to it, share it out, share it out, share it out. Every single thing was a pearl. See you next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on The Cynthia Manion Show.